It's time now for the best high school sports action from the WBCB Sports Network. Catch the best games from Bucks and Mercer County at WBCBSports.com and our Facebook page. Your home for high school sports is right here at WBCB 1490.
All right, here with Robbinsville Boys Basketball, Coach Connor Hayes, along with a bunch of his players. And this preview is sponsored in part by Capital Health System, the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, and New Jersey Education Association. Keith Noonan, right back at it. We just had Hamilton West, and now we have their first game opponent in Connor Hayes and the Robbinsville Ravens. So, Coach, welcome. All you guys, welcome. Thanks for being here tonight.
Oh, thank you for having us.
You got it. So I just want to start off with you, Coach, briefly. You have taken over a program that was, quite frankly, not very good when you took over. You've won, I believe, 20 games in back-to-back seasons or very close to it. So what have you really come in and changed as far as the success?
Really, we just tried to focus on changing the culture a little bit, especially in the practice gym. That's really been where this has started to take off when we got not just 10 guys in there competing at varsity level, but 15, 18, 20 guys. Our practices have really been a war the last few years, and that's helped with some of the consistency. I think a lot has been talked about with me, but it also comes to these players. I mean, they're the big reason why we are what we are. Same with like their families. I mean, they got good coaching from their dads. I know these four guys' dads were coaching them when they were younger, and they were coached the right way, and that kind of helps build on what's to come in the future. So that definitely helped as well.
And obviously the big player that you guys lost, Brian Herbert, he's off to college now. He was 1,000-point scorer. And you and I kind of talked about him off the air, but how big of a loss is that for you guys? But at the same time, you feel pretty good about this group that we're about to talk to as well.
Yeah, I mean, you lose a player of the year in the area, it's definitely going to be a big loss. There's no two ways around that. He was a guy who blocked shots for us, rebounded for us, shot the ball well for us, finished, was a good passer. But he was one of our five guys. He was definitely a focal point last year, and we kind of built it that way around him. And this year we're really excited for the guys we have coming up and who we're going to build it around this year. We'll see, but we're excited and confident that we will continue our push forward with what we've done so far.
Coming off of a 20-8 season, anytime that you can win 20 games, it's a major accomplishment in high school. And you lost in the Central Jersey Group 3 finals last season, which these guys, at least most of them, they've got experience now in that playoff atmosphere. And of course, in the Mercer County tournament. And you went undefeated last year in conference. How difficult was that to do? And by the way, how difficult is it going to be this year to kind of repeat that because of all the talent that we're seeing around the area?
Yeah. It was definitely difficult. We talked about a lot over the summer and just our like team meetings and team conversations. But a special thing about that last year's group was the consistency they brought, and whether we were playing, somebody that other teams thought or other people thought were the best team or the worst team in the conference, they brought their game to the conference or to that game. And that's big. That's a huge thing. You can't go undefeated in conference play if you're not bringing that consistency every night with focus and effort and attitude. So that's something we focused on for this next year. I think it also took away from us a little bit. I think it wasn't one of our goals last year to go undefeated in the conference, and it kind of became one in the middle of the season. That's never really a good formula. I think that definitely contributed a little bit to our fatigue moving forward. But we want to go out and we want to play our best game every night, whether it's a CVC opponent, whether it's an out of conference opponent. We're looking for that consistency to continue this year, and we know it's going to be a challenge.
All right, so go ahead and introduce the players that you have here tonight with you.
Yeah, we got a two-time second team all conference player as a freshman and a sophomore in Luke Billings. We got our point guard, second year returning as a starter point guard in Tyler Handy. We got forward, another junior. All three of these are juniors so far. And Evan Bennell, who has improved his outside shooting a ton, super athletic and physical inside. We're expecting a lot from him this year. And then really a guy who was our X factor last year. When he was playing well, we played phenomenal. When he struggled, we struggled. And that's Pat Cap. He was our sixth man off the bench last year, came in as a starter when Ty was hurt for a couple weeks. But we're expecting huge things from him this year, as well as another like 6'2", 6'3" wing.
So I guess I'll start with you, Luke. I mean, you and I have talked after a couple of games where you've really had great games. So now you go in, this is going to be your junior year. You've obviously been very impressive in your first 2 years, and, you know, you're going to Wake Forest for baseball. I mean, what do you think that you're, you know, much better at baseball than you are at basketball? I mean, how do you handicap that for yourself?
I mean, I'm not really sure. I kind of just like try my best with both. And like really just like I definitely think it helps a lot with basketball that I have, like, especially these three kids right here, like some of my best friends, like pushing me kind of every day, especially in practices versus like baseball. It's kind of like a different like environment. So
Well, so what's that like now that you're basically, you know, you're one of the key leaders on this team? So what's the mentality going in? I mean, as a freshman and sophomore, maybe you didn't quite view yourself as that. Maybe you did, but now as an upperclassman, as a junior, kind of taking over. Obviously, you had Brian that's gone now. So what do you view your role now?
I mean, I feel like even like the last 2 years, kind of just like that we never really had like one main leader. I feel like it was kind of like a collective like group of kids. Like right now, like I would say us four right here, like doing a pretty good job in like practices and stuff, like leading the team, kind of directing them in like the right direction. And like so far, I think through like the preseason, we've been doing a pretty good job with that.
Coach, what do you look for really quickly when you kind of start practice after a really nice year last year? What are you looking for early on as far as practice and tryouts? You get the team together. What are the things that you're working on right now as we have about a week before the games actually start?
The competitiveness, that's number one. No matter what the drill is that we're doing, it's got to be high level competition. We're looking to match the toughest guys up against each other, get the best matchup so we're getting the most out of it. And then the energy level's got to be high. This year's been a little different because last year we really had like 22 guys in there that could have dressed varsity in any other year that I coached at Robbinsville. And this year we had some guys kind of step away, and we've kind of felt that a little bit in our practices at times. Some guys that we expected to be contributing on varsity or be a main contributor on JV, but could push our varsity guys. So we have a little bit more young guys in our JV varsity practices. But like Luke said, these guys have done an awesome job. I think the young guys were a little bit in shock and awe in the first like day or two. And then right away they started to get with it of these kids want me not to back down. They want me to go after them. I'm not going to shy away from Luke Billings because, you know, he's who everybody talks about in the school or whatever it may be. I'm not going to shy away from trying to block Evan going up for a dunk on me. So like it's a good atmosphere that we have in the gym right now. And I'm glad the young guys are coming along as quick as they are, because it's going to make us as a varsity team a lot better.
And Tyler, for you, I mean, I was impressed by you last year. I know that you missed a few games with an injury, but you came back and played pretty well. And also another, you know, younger player. So how do you envision your development going into this year?
Well, this year I've been focusing more on becoming more vocal with my teammates. In years prior, I wouldn't really speak as much, and I would let everyone else direct me. But like I feel like as being a leader and a captain this year, I had to take a role and start being vocal with our team. And I feel like having these guys around me to like support me to like come out of my shell and talk more has been like really well.
Well, certainly, right. And also, I'm sure the team chemistry certainly helps that, right? I mean, and you have another year under your belt, and you're certainly, one of the point guards on this team that helps run this offense. So going to be a little bit different this year. How do you envision running this offense, without some of the key players from last year?
Well, I feel like nothing. I feel like we had to, as a group, we just had to fill in some spaces that we lost last year. But I feel like we're gonna be great with what we do, and no matter who's on the floor, we're gonna do our best, and we're gonna work hard and compete.
Pat, obviously, Coach kind of talked about you a little bit of, a guy coming off the bench had to start some games, whether it be due to injury or because you get to start. So how do you picture your role this year changing from last year? And, do you feel like you're ready for it?
I think I am ready for it. I feel like my role last year was kind of to bring energy to the starting five, and I think I kind of did that. So I think this year I'm going to do the same thing, bring the energy in, bring the competitiveness of the team better.
Yeah, you hit some big threes, if I recall, in a couple of those games that really helped turn the tide. Is that something that you're really focused on? Is your jump shot and your shooting ability getting open in space? Is that something that you really take pride in the most?
Yeah, that is my specialty. I do like to knock down my threes, and I to really focus on in the off season a lot. That's like what I've kind of been known as, like the shooter.
Evan, I remember you coming into certain games too, where maybe the defense wasn't playing great. Or so. I just remember Evan being a really scrappy player that comes in. He plays really physical defense. He might be a little overzealous sometimes, maybe pick up a couple of fouls, but he is a guy that you should be pretty nervous about when he comes in and he's guarding you. Evan, talk about that a little bit in the sense of your role on this team.
So coming off the bench, you really get to analyze the situation out on the court. And like Coach Hayes touched on, I had to understand what type of game I'm going into. And a lot of the times, for example, the game against Hightstown, the game against Ewing, 2 games, I think right after winter break, I could just tell some of our guys were lacking a little energy and stuff. So going into the game, I knew what I needed to bring out for my guys, whether it's scoring, rebounding. The most important thing was just energy, because that's the one thing that, if I do, it will spread to my guys as a group and really improve everyone's play.
And it seemed like some games, certainly you had a major impact when you came in right off the bench. And so now I assume you're going to be more of like a starter for this team. So how does that change your perspective at all, if at all?
Got to lock in before the games. I mean, instead of coming off the bench and, fixing what's going on out there, if there's anything going poorly, you got to set the tone. I mean, the goal is to, whenever anyone subs in, they should be coming into a game with high energy, and ball should be moving, and we should just have positive energy out there.
Luke, there was another player in the conference, because we kind of talked about that first game where you guys are going to be taking on Hamilton West, and Hamilton West right now is considered to be one of the better squads in the area. And one kid described you as just a guy that does really everything well, not necessarily great at one thing or another. How would you describe your game in the sense that you really are a player that is solid in a lot of aspects?
I like that description for me, because when I go out there, it's not like I'm necessarily looking to do one thing and one thing only. I mean, spend a lot of time working on my body and my athleticism, because I understand that will allow me to be a versatile player, have to be able to do multiple things out there. Like Coach Hayes said, in the off season, I've been trying to work on my 3-pointer. But coming into the season, I want to be a guy who can shoot the 3, knock one down, have a guy close out hard on me, and then me be able to drive right to the basket.
Coach, what would you say are going to be the strengths of this team as compared to maybe last year?
I think we're going to be more balanced this year. We just had our first scrimmage tonight, and looking at the box score afterwards, it was 8, 10, 13 across the board. So that not being able to key in on one guy, I think will help us in what we really have wanted to do for the past few years of spreading that ball around. The thing that I think really continues is the defensive intensity. We really pride ourselves on our man-to-man defense last year, defense and rebounding. I said it all playoffs last year, that travels. So whether we're home, whether we're on the road, you play really tough man-to-man defense and you can rebound the ball, you're going to have success in high school basketball. So that's really with, these four guys and some of the role players we got coming off the bench for us, and a fifth guy in our starting lineup who we're still fighting to see who it's going to be. The length and athleticism helps us a lot on the defensive end. And something we need to really key on moving forward.
Tyler, for you, I mean, you're going to be the point guard, right? So without Brian and with these other role players where, like you said, or like Coach said, you can't really key on one guy necessarily. How different is the offense this year?
The offense is, you could say it's balanced this year. I feel like all five of the people that are going to be on the court, we all could score and we all could pass and we all could play defense. So if we all just come together as one, we're just going to be as solid as we were in years prior.
Do you get concerned at all that it might be too pass happy and not enough shooting, or guys are going to be passing up shots? Because that would be maybe my concern, but you're the point guard, so you can answer that first.
Well, if anyone was to pass,
if you saw our scrimmage today, that would not be a concern.
No,
they know they all got green lights this year, so no, I don't think we got to worry about that.
I love it.
Well, if anyone was to pass up a shot, it would definitely be me than anyone else, because I just don't really care about. I mean, I do care about scoring, but I just put the team before me. I could care less about how much I score as long as we win.
Well, I like that too, because Evan goes, listen, I'm working on my 3-point shot. I want to make some threes. Pat's like, well, that's the strength of my game, so I'm going to launch it up. I mean, Luke is kind of all over the place. He'll shoot the three if he has to, but from what I remember, he was great on the dribble drive and could kick it out if he needed to, but he was strong to the rim. I mean, Luke, where do you see, your offensive ability really thriving here?
I mean, I think like definitely just all around everything. I think attacking the rim and just getting like everyone open shots. Like Evan's been nailing threes in practice. Tyler's been nailing threes in practice. So is Pat, and a bunch of guys off the bench too. So, I mean, I think any of us can really just pull the defense away and get someone else a shot, or if we're open, take the shot ourselves. So I think offensively we'll be looking pretty solid.
Pat, you look like you wanted to say something there. I mean, all this three talk I have to bring in.
I didn't really gonna say anything. I think my shot's been a little off, but Luke, you can say whatever you want. It's fine with me. But I think we'll be good this year because I think we all kind of have that three ball, which we didn't really have last year. I feel like we were a little bit of we were like an okay 3-point shooting team, but I think we were really all improved over the all season with our 3-point shot. So
yeah, I mean, the offense last year, I mean, I don't know, Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like it was a little bit sparse with the threes. You guys had players that were very good down low, and that's the way that you kind of ran the offense, right? High percentage shots, and if Brian or if Pat wanted to shoot the three ball, if they're open, they took that. Luke, obviously, same thing. Tyler, same thing. But I remember Tyler being kind of pass first guy, set up the offense, and he would get his when, he had open shots too.
Yeah. I think the last few years we were definitely still trying to establish ourselves in the conference, and looking at the teams who have been the most dominant in the conference over the last 10 years since I've been back coaching. The teams that score in the paint are the most consistent and most dominant teams, whether it's been Ewing in the past. They'd have Trey who could shoot from the outside, but the majority of their games were dominated in the paint. When Nottingham has had their successful seasons, they've dominated the paint, whether it's in transition, slashing the basket, whatever it may be. Not necessarily back to the basket guys, but getting into the paint and finishing, getting offensive rebounds and finishing. Same with Trenton, same with Notre Dame and with Turco. And it's just, that's really where our focus has been. But I think I put a little bit too much of the handcuffs on our guys with that, because when you go outside of the conference and you got to go to Manasquan and win a game there, when they're shooting 73% from three, you have to be able to match them with at least a few 3-pointers here and there. And I felt like looking back at that game and kind of the last couple seasons, I maybe put up too many red lights with our shooters. So this year we kind of changed a few things philosophy wise offensively, and we're looking forward to seeing these guys shoot it. we invested in a shooting machine this off season, and
There you go.
it's to work all summer. So they're shooting with a lot of confidence in the gym. And just like Luke said, a lot of our young guys too that are going to be playing for us, they are shooting the ball really well right now. So it's something we're looking forward to.
I kind of want to see that box score from the game that you guys just played, because everybody laughed when I said that somebody was going to pass up a shot. So I kind of want to know like what was the percentage? What was going on with the scrimmage?
It wasn't necessarily that we shot especially well in the first half, but we I was happy. Like, guys that we want to be shooting the ball, we're shooting the ball when they were open. There's no selfish play still. Everybody's still playing within our concepts, but when you're open this year, we're expecting you to shoot, and we all have faith that guy's going to make the shot. That's really the confidence we have right now in this group of 10, 12 guys. So.
All right, now I want to get to kind of the strength of schedule, and you guys are going to be I mean, you mentioned some of the teams, right? Like, Trenton, they're known for really playing fast. They grab the rebound, they're pushing it up the floor. They've got very good guard play, and they've got a forward that is an all-county, all-state type of player. And you have, like you said, Nottingham is was very good last year. They're expected to be better, even better this year. Let's go over to Evan. Evan, for you, do you look at the schedule? I mean, now that we're only about a week out, maybe you're starting to look at Hamilton West, who might be a tough test for you guys. Do you look at that schedule and a couple of the teams that are going to be tough for you, or are you just focused really on just one day at a time in practice?
Being that us four captains, we've all had at least a year of varsity experience. We've got a little bit more comfortable out there, and we understand the game that needs to be played. Especially when we talk in conference, we know a lot of the guys that we're going to be going up against, and we know a lot of the strengths of the teams. So I'm not necessarily looking in at all the specifics and everything of every roster, but when we're going into a game, we know what a team's strengths are and stuff like that. So we should be able to prepare well for those games.
How about Pat? We'll go to you. Do you kind of look forward and say, hey, we've won X amount of conference games straight? I mean, went undefeated last year. So does that kind of factor into your thought as you enter this season?
I think we should, like what Evan was kind of saying, we kind of take it one game at a time. I mean, we kind of look at all these conference teams, and they're all anyone can lose. Like we saw with our Notre Dame game, we lost that. So we need to take a game every one step at a time, focus on every win, and just come out with intensity every single game.
Tyler, for you, you looking ahead at all? You're just focused on running everything, and whoever we play. Like Pat said, you lost a game that maybe you guys probably expected to win. Do you expect to win every game?
I mean, the attitude is to win every game, but realistically, you're not going to win every game. So we just take it one step at a time as a team, and we just scout. We do our stuff that night, the practices before we get ready, we play, and then whatever happens that game, we know in the next game we're going to work harder and play better.
Luke, knowing the strength of the teams around the area, how big of an accomplishment would it be to run it up in those conference games and maybe not go undefeated, but to have another really good conference record like you guys just had?
I mean, I think that'll definitely be a great accomplishment, especially for all of us. But I do have to say, back to one of the questions before, I think all of us do a pretty good job of watching our film too and getting ready for these games. And just as all the other guys said, I think really taking it one step at a time is our main focus. Don't really look ahead at games, because I think maybe we did that a little bit with the Notre Dame game last year. We kind of looked ahead a little bit, and we kind of saw how that came back to us. So I think that's something really important for us to do this year, kind of take it one step at a time, focus on our intensity, like Pat said, keep our defense up. We can't be lazy on that. And that's really it.
Coach, the dreaded look ahead games. How are you going to avoid that this year, especially with a lot of good teams that you guys are playing?
I think the best way to avoid it is open with Hamilton West, to be honest with you. I mean, that game was one of the best high school games I've been a part of last year. It was, I think you guys were there for that one, or at least WBCB was there. It was high intensity. The gym was packed. it was pretty much impossible to hear anything. We got out to a big lead. They came roaring right back, hitting shots from everywhere. They hit 12 threes in the game. Some of you typically don't see in a high school game. They took the lead in the fourth quarter with, I think, about like 4 or 5 minutes left, went up like 5. And then we came storming back in those last 5 minutes to win the game. I know my father does some like organ donation talks at high schools, and he was just at Hamilton West, and him and Brandon Johnson have known each other for a while through these, and they had a nice conversation about that game last year and how awesome it was. So it's a game we're looking forward to, and when you got to open with a really tough game followed up with TCA the very next day, it's pretty easy not to look ahead. We got, like they said, take it one step at a time, one practice at a time. That's been our formula for the last several years, and it's going to be our formula as long as I'm here. So,
yeah, no question. And you played a lot of difficult games. I mean, we kind of talked off the air. You played a lot of difficult games last year too, and this year you have similar, teams on the schedule, whether it be, St. Thomas Aquinas, Colonia. I mean, these teams are, very, very good. And Marlboro, who I saw against Trenton Central, they were able to beat them at home. That was when the gyms and everything opened up and the mask mandate went away and the place was absolutely packed. And Trenton played a great game. They came up short. There was a lot of really good shooters. So like you said, the 3-ball might be kind of important in certain games like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been looking for competition. That's how you continue to get better. The last few years, we were happy with our schedule last year. I think our schedule this year, while we're playing a lot of the same teams, I think we have it set up a little bit better. I mean, some of those games last year were back-to-backs. Like you said, Nottingham, Marlboro, back-to-back. That's not necessarily a formula for success in both of those games, at least. We had Colonia right after somebody on a Friday, Saturday, back-to-back. We had Linden, Hamilton West on a back-to-back last year. This is just poor job on my part. It was tough scheduling games last year. We had like East Orange dropped on us. So we were scrambling to look for games and just had to pick them up where we could. This year, we were able to kind of get our schedule set the way we want it. And like I told these guys, we don't want to leave our gym after January 31st. So January 31st, we host Notre Dame. Then I think we go 2 days later. It's kind of set up in playoff mode. It's a day off, play from there on out. And it's teams that we expect to be in playoffs. So we're really happy with how our schedule is shaped out. But that's something to look to down the road. And we can't get that goal without taking care of business in December and January.
Final few minutes here with the Robbinsville squad. And final question for the players. Luke, we'll start with you. Any personal goals, things that you're looking for this year? Obviously, you've had a couple of really nice seasons here with the basketball squad.
My personal goal is to win that sectional championship this year. I think the other guys on this will agree with that or probably have a similar goal, but I think we all really want that, especially after last year.
Certainly losing in that game, that's got to leave a bad taste in your mouth. By the way, how hard are you throwing nowadays?
Honestly, I have no idea.
That's good. Good answer. Tyler, same question to you. Another year, and obviously you guys made it pretty far. Like I said, you did deal with an injury there in the middle of the season, but like I said, you recovered and played pretty well. What is your main thing that you're focused on this year?
First, to stay healthy, and to back on what Luke said, the sectional final. And I would like to play at the Mercer County tournament at the Cure Arena, because we didn't have that last year with losing to Notre Dame. Our freshman year, we weren't able to. And I was, when we were in 8th grade, we saw like the games we played Nottingham, and it was just intense and it was amazing. And I always wanted to play there growing up.
The Cure is always great. It's a great venue for that tournament. Pat, over to you, sir. What are you hoping for this season?
I mean, kind of just to build off Tyler and Luke, like obviously I think we both.
Does anybody want to go past the section championship?
I think we all want that sectional champ. That's the main goal. After that sour
Right.
taste, after losing to Manasquan, we all like we just want that back. We want our revenge story. That's what we want.
Right.
And
No, I'm being facetious because I know how hard it is just to get there.
yeah.
I understand that. Right.
Yeah, and I agree with Ty with like the MCTs. Like after like that like early run exit, it kind of left like yet again like a sour taste in our mouth. And I think we could do it this year. I think we have the talent to do it. So I think that's our goal. What one of our goals is. So.
Evan, final words for you. Things that you're focused on, things you want to accomplish this season with your friends here.
One thing that we put in place last season, if you came to any of our games, you'd see our warm-up shirts we got. It said a phrase called "We On." This is something that we lived by last year. I mean, every time we went into a gym, we had to be locked in. That was honestly, we talked about consistency. That was one of the biggest formulas for success. The way to be consistent is to go into every game with the right attitude and be on. So I feel like as a leader now, I have to, we have some younger guys that weren't necessarily a part of the We On culture last year. That's something we got to bring back this year. And also, obviously, the sectional championship, when you get one step away, it's, you crave it all off season. You felt it, but you didn't get it. And now we want to come back and we want to get it this year. So looking forward to continue.
Do we have a new motto, or is it "We On" again? Times two.
We do have a new motto, but I think you're going to have to wait to hear it from our student section during the season.
Just fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. Absolutely.
That's
guys.
Tease right there. Perfect tease.
There you go. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys opening night. I'll probably catch up with you guys that night, but best of luck this season. And once again, this has been brought to you by Capital Health System, the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office, and New Jersey Education Association. Best of luck, guys. And this has been the Robbinsville Preview Show right here on WBCB.